Last time, we covered 6 moments from history so strange they sounded completely made up. And you loved it. So we're doing it again. Because the past is a bottomless well of the bizarre, the ridiculous, and the completely unhinged. Today, 6 more true stories that your history teacher definitely skipped. A bear that went to war, a dead pope put on trial, meat that fell from a clear blue sky, and a man who simply declared himself Emperor of the United States. Every single one of these actually happened. So settle in and let's get weird again. During World War II, the Polish army had a soldier unlike any other. His name was Wojtek, and he was a bear, a real 250-pound brown bear. It started in 1942 when a group of Polish soldiers in the Middle East found an orphaned bear cub and adopted him. They fed him condensed milk from a bottle, and as he grew, Wojtek became one of the troops. He wrestled with the soldiers, he learned to salute, and he developed a fondness for beer and cigarettes, which he would happily eat whole. But here is the incredible part. When the unit was shipped off to fight in the brutal Battle of Monte Cassino in Italy, there was a problem. Regulations said only soldiers and equipment could be transported, not pets. So the army did the only logical thing. They officially enlisted the bear. Wojtek was given a name, a rank, and a serial number, becoming Private Wojtek of the Polish Second Corps, and he did not just ride along. During the battle, witnesses say Wojtek carried heavy crates of artillery shells to the front lines and never dropped a single one. After the war, he retired to the Edinburgh Zoo, a decorated veteran and a bear who genuinely went to war. In the year 897, the Catholic Church held one of the strangest trials in human history. The defendant was a former pope named Formosus. The problem? He had already been dead for several months. His successor, Pope Stephen VI, had the body of Formosus dug up from its grave, dressed in full papal robes, and propped up on a throne in the courtroom to stand trial. This event is now known as the Cadaver Synod. Stephen screamed accusations at the silent, decomposing corpse, while a terrified teenage deacon was forced to crouch behind the body and answer on its behalf. Unsurprisingly, the dead pope was found guilty on all charges. As punishment, his papal robes were stripped off, 3 fingers were cut from his right hand, and his body was eventually thrown into the Tiber River. But the story did not end well for Stephen either. The grotesque trial horrified the public, and within months, Stephen was overthrown, thrown into prison, and strangled to death. History rarely gets darker or stranger than putting a corpse on trial. On a clear afternoon in March of 1876 in Bath County, Kentucky, a woman named Mrs. Crouch was making soap on her porch when something began to fall from the sky. It was not rain. It was meat. Chunks of red, raw flesh, each a few inches across, rained down from a cloudless, blue sky over an area the size of a small field. The meat fell for several minutes, covering the ground and sticking to the fences. Naturally, this caused a sensation. 2 brave, or perhaps foolish, men actually tasted it and declared that it was either mutton or venison. Scientists were baffled. Samples were sent away for analysis, and the results came back as a mix of lung tissue, muscle, and cartilage. So where did it come from? The leading theory, believe it or not, involves vultures. Experts suggested that a flock of vultures flying overhead had, all at once, vomited up their last meal, which is a common defense mechanism for the birds. So the most likely explanation for the Great Kentucky Meat Shower is a synchronized sky full of vulture vomit. In the year 1325, 2 Italian cities went to war, and thousands of people died, all over a single wooden bucket. The cities of Modena and Bologna had been bitter rivals for years. According to the legend, the conflict finally ignited when a group of soldiers from Modena snuck into the city of Bologna and stole a simple oak bucket from a public well. To the people of Bologna, this was a humiliation they could not tolerate. They demanded the bucket back. Modena refused, and so, over a bucket, the two cities raised their armies and met at the Battle of Zappolino. An estimated 30,000 men fought that day, and thousands of them lost their lives. Modena won the battle, and to rub salt in the wound, they kept the bucket as a trophy of war. And here is the best part of all. That very same bucket is still on display in a tower in Modena to this very day, 700 years later, a proud monument to the silliest war ever fought. In 1859, a man walked into the offices of a San Francisco newspaper and handed them an official-looking decree. In it, he declared himself Norton I, Emperor of the United States. His name was Joshua Norton, a failed businessman who had lost his entire fortune. But instead of fading away in shame, he simply decided that he was now royalty. And the strangest part? The city of San Francisco played along. For over 20 years, Emperor Norton roamed the city in a fancy military uniform with a feathered hat, inspecting the streets and issuing imperial decrees. He ordered the abolishment of Congress. He demanded that a bridge be built across the San Francisco Bay, decades before it actually happened. He even printed his own money, and local businesses genuinely accepted it as currency. When a police officer once tried to arrest him, the public was so outraged that he was immediately released with a formal apology. And when Emperor Norton died in 1880, an estimated 30,000 people lined the streets for the funeral of a man who ruled an empire that existed only in his own mind. The Roman Emperor Caligula is famous for being one of the most unhinged rulers in all of history. But one story stands above the rest. Around the year 40 AD, Caligula assembled his entire army on the northern coast of France, supposedly to launch a massive invasion of Britain. Thousands of soldiers stood ready in full battle formation, war machines prepared, and ships at the ready. And then, Caligula gave his order. He commanded his soldiers to attack the ocean. According to historians, the confused troops were ordered to charge into the water and stab the waves with their swords, doing battle with the sea god Neptune himself. Then, Caligula ordered his men to collect seashells from the beach, declaring them the spoils of war, plunder taken from the defeated ocean. He had his soldiers gather up their seashell treasure to be paraded back in Rome as proof of his glorious victory. Whether he was truly mad or making some bizarre political point, Caligula remains the only leader in history to declare war on the sea and claim that he won. And there it is, 6 more reminders that history is so much weirder than anything we could ever invent. A war hero bear, a corpse on trial, a sky raining meat, a war over a bucket, a self-made emperor, and a battle against the ocean itself. The past never, ever runs out of strange. If you made it this far, then you are a true fan of the weird. So do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, because there is always more. And tell me down in the comments which story broke your brain the most. I'll see you in the next one.